Hey, gorgeous people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Grace Victoria, and today we're talking girl talk and big sister advice because who doesn't need a little wisdom every now and then? So grab a seat, get comfy, and let's have some real talk, shall we? Post on my Instagram stories some questions that you guys might have had for girl talk / big sister advice, and I have them all on my phone here. I've written them. So we're just going to start with some basic questions and then move on from there. And I will try to answer all of these in my best expertise. Reminder, I'm not a pro. This is just something that I wanted to do and talk to you guys about. So just throwing that out there. But I hope you enjoy this anyway. Okay, so the first question says, how can I learn to love myself more and stop comparing myself to others? This is a really, really good question, and honestly, I still struggle with this every day, and I don't think there's any human who doesn't, whether you're struggling with comparing yourself to others in the social media world or in your personal life. That is always going to be inevitable. So you're not alone if you're into that, because not into that, but if you do that, because I do that a lot too still. Everyone's human, no one's perfect. However, I would say to learn to love yourself more, this is going to sound really cheesy, but from what I did is I learned more about myself. I know who I am and I know who I want to be, and that I realized that realized that loving myself is okay, and that's a good thing. And how to stop comparing myself to others. Honestly, I personally don't know how to answer that in a good big sister kind of way, because I still struggle with comparing myself to others, and I'm not perfect, and I really try not to, but it's hard, especially in the social media world. So I would say comparing yourself to others is a little bit harder to deal with. Next question says, what are some ways to boost my confidence, especially when I feel insecure? For me personally, something that I like to do is get into a cute outfit or something, or like looking at a picture of myself that I really like and was like, ooh, I looked really cute in that picture, and that I can look cute in that picture again. That sort of thing. Or even just, I would say that because I like to do that a lot of the times, and it has helped me realize more and not focus on the negatives. I don't like pointing my insecurities out. Online. However, I will say everybody has some, obviously. And when I'm dealing with those insecurities, I don't like to look at the negative aspect of those things. So for an example, I'll use my hair, because my hair is not an insecurity. Basically, something that I will do is, if I was very insecure about my hair, I would really try to I know this is going to be hard, and I know this is also going to sound cheesy, and this is my best big sister advice I can give you, so it's a little bit difficult too, but something that I will try to do is think of the positives about what I like about my insecurity. So I could be like, I love how straight my hair can be. I love how pretty it looks in this certain light, like that. Those kinds of things are something that I would consider for sure. Okay, this one says, how do you deal with negative self-talk? That one is deep. Wow. So I have dealt with a lot, and I mean a lot, of mental health issues when I was younger. I've talked about them before on my podcast channel. I'll go a little bit into depth here, but not fully. If you want to know, you can watch my mental health episode on that. But basically, when I was a freshman in high school, so that was during the whole 2020 era and everything, I was dealing with a lot of really hard mental health things in my life. One being, I was feeling a bit of FOMO for not being able to go to high school Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love being homeschooled now and would never change it. But when you're 13, 14, and you're wanting something and your parents are saying no, it's very hard to convince that younger version of yourself to know what's best for you. But during that time, I was entering high school and I was really wanting to go. Unfortunately, I wasn't gonna go, which is fine for me now, but when I was that age, I was really mad and upset about it. And it wasn't due to that at all. It was actually due to all of my other friends being in high school and their lives getting busier and busier. I started dealing with a sense of loneliness. I felt like nobody loved me, nobody wanted to hang out with me, everyone had their own busy lives that they had to deal with, and that nobody had time to hang out with me. I know, I'm very pick-me girl energy. I am not a pick-me, I promise, but I was 13, what did I know? So I was dealing with that, and then while I was dealing with that sense of loneliness and that sense of feeling with my friends, I was also dealing with thoughts about not wanting to be around anymore, is the best way I could put it. My mental health, for that exact reason, was getting so hard, and I really just wanted to end it all, and I'm gonna start tearing. I really wanted to end it all and just not be here anymore. I'm not an emotional person at all, but this makes me tear, so I apologize. But basically, I just was over it and I couldn't deal with it anymore. That was a really hard time in my life. So how do I deal with it? I have gotten in a better headspace, and I have had an amazing support system around me during that time to really help me boost my confidence back up to that and help pull myself out of that. So that is some ways that I've dealt with it in the past. And now my mental health issues are not as bad as they used to be. Next question, moving on. So this one says, how do you know if someone is a true friend? Okay. So I would say, I know a lot of people say, like, oh, you know someone's a true friend if they're there for you in your tough times, or if they know everything about you, or stuff like that, which is very true. But I would say if they pay attention to the little things and are okay with just chilling with you and hanging out with you and not having to go out every second of the day. All 4 of my really close friends, who I consider my best friends, yes, I know it's only 4, but I love them. They all are some really loyal friends to me and have been I've been friends with 2 of them for almost a decade, and I've been friends with another one of them for years now. And how do I know that they're true friends? Because I know who they are. I know what they stand for. I know what their values are. And I know how they are. And honestly, my one friend who has done my podcast with me, Grace, she and I have been friends for years. We live 5 to 7 minutes away from each other, and she pays attention to all the little things I say. My birthday is coming up in a couple weeks as of the time that I'm filming this. As of the time that I'm posting this, it's in a couple weeks. And when I say I love this kind of candy, or oh, I want to try this thing, birthdays, Christmases, whatever, like, she will literally pay attention to the little things and get them to me as gifts. Not even gifts, but like, you know what I mean. Like, she will pay such good attention to me, and knowing what I want and what I like is so important to me. That is something that is the epitome to me of a true friend. And obviously someone who loves, cares, and cherishes you and your friendship, because I think that is so important and so not talked about enough, that people don't care about their friendships or the people that they're in friendships with is crazy. What should I do if I feel like my friendship is one-sided? This is a good one. I've had multiple one-sided multiple one-sided friendships, and they suck. They really, really do. Honestly, and I know how hard this may be, but honestly, I would say distance yourself from them and maybe start slowly getting ready to either cut contact or just letting them know, because as hard as that may be, you want to prioritize yourself and the friendships and relationships that value you, and not just the friendships and relationships who, like, not just the one-sided friendships you're in. I have been in multiple, believe me, they suck. They're really, really hard. And unfortunately, to those one-sided friendships, I'm not friends with anybody that I was in a one-sided friendship with. They did not treat me how I should have been treated in a friendship. And to be honest, at least for one of the one-sided friendships, I did not treat them well either. But you have to know who you are, and that one-sided friendships don't define you, and that even though that may be hard, that minimal level contact is so much more important for yourself and your well-being. So, okay, this next question is, how do you handle drama with friends without losing yourself? Okay, so I was in about a year and a half's worth of drama when I was younger. Again, you can hear me talk about that on my podcast, but I was a little young to, I think, understand what losing myself meant. And so one of my best friends and I were in the same school, and that's where the drama happened. And so now we talk about it and laugh it off and are coping with it. When we were younger, it was a really hard situation. We did not want to talk about it, and we did not want to laugh about it. It was a really tough situation for sure. So that's how we handle it now. And even when we were younger, we handle it now by talking about it, by being open to it, by advocating it. We were extremely and severely bullied. I think she was a little bit more than I was, but we were both in that. And so we talk about it now, and that's how we cope with it. And yeah, so I think just being open and honest with the person you were in it with, or even just out loud in general to somebody, helps a lot more, for sure. We're over it now, obviously. That was many years ago, but we still talk about it and we still think about it, because it was a very hard part of our life and a very major part of our life for a long time. So, and how do I handle it without losing yourself? Honestly, I don't really know how to answer that. I was very young, so I didn't really understand. I didn't know what losing yourself meant, or really fully grasped onto that concept. And it wasn't that bad, nor did I really understand what mental health was at that age. Like, I knew what it was, but it wasn't until I got into high school when I knew what it was. So it was a little bit harder to understand what that means. So, yeah. How do you deal? Okay, so next question is, how do you deal with feeling pressure to look a certain way? And what's your advice for dealing with body image issues? So how do you deal with, okay, so we'll break this down into two. How do you deal with feeling pressure to look a certain way? Honestly, for me personally, I have never felt that. I never really cared what other people thought about my appearance or my looks. I have always dressed the way that I wanted to. I have always dressed the way that made me feel comfortable. I had never really cared that much about how I looked in public to other people but myself, and maybe my family and friends, but like if they're complete strangers, I really have not cared very much. But so that's just personally for me. I have never personally dealt with that, but I think that that's advice that people could take in, is honestly, if you feel pressured to look a certain way because society tells you to, then screw it. Wear what you want, feel comfortable in what you want. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. As long as you like what you're wearing and you're comfortable with what you're wearing, that's all that should matter. And then the other part of this question is, what is your advice for dealing with body image issues? Okay, again, not a pro in this, but I personally do. I deal with body image issues a lot. Not a lot, but I deal with them. And those are some hard days, for sure. And that just goes back to the whole comparing issue, right? Where you're like, I'm comparing myself to this person because they look better than I do, they have better arms than I do, whatever. And so I don't really have any great advice for dealing with that because I personally still deal with it every day. I personally still deal with it a lot, and it's really hard to accept that and be okay with that, especially when you're still dealing with that. Okay, next question, moving on, is how do you stay motivated when you feel unmotivated or overwhelmed? Wow, okay, that's a good one too. I personally still deal with this on a daily basis. I deal with that a lot, especially with schooling and homeschooling, and I'm in a college class right now and I'm dealing with that too. How do I stay motivated? Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just push through it until I can't anymore, which I know is not great, but sometimes I'm just like, I just have to do it, because if I don't just do it, it's never gonna get done. So I think that personally, I push myself to just do it as much as I would hate it, because once I get into the vibes and I get into the zone, then it makes me want to do it more and feel motivated. So, okay, next question. What are some tips for managing stress or anxiety? That's really hard because I don't have, at least from what I know, I don't have diagnosed anxiety, so I can't really speak very much on the anxiety part. But my life is very stressful. I have a lot going for me, especially this year of 2025. I have a lot going for me, and just a lot going on in my life. So how do I manage stress? I try to ground myself in what I'm doing. I try to stay focused on one task at a time, because stress leads to a lot of different things, and my stresses all contain different things, and so I try to ground myself focusing on one task at a time, and not meditating, because I personally don't do that, but that could be something for you to do, is meditating or just breathing or even just relaxing and taking your mind off things for a while helps me as well. Just taking my mind off of my busy, chaotic, and stressful life is definitely so helpful. Next, how do you stay grounded when everything feels chaotic? Pretty much that. I try to relax. I try to take my mind off of things. I try to do things that will give my mind a break and put myself at ease. So, what advice would you give for dealing with burnout? Okay, so I've dealt with burnout a lot, especially with homeschooling and the channel and just a bunch of other stuff. I would say giving yourself that time to accept the burnout. I know you can't with school if you're burnt out, but just like with other things in your life in general, like I got burnt out from doing my podcast and didn't have the motivation to do it anymore and got really burnt out by it. So I have given myself a break from that. I have taken my stresses away from that. And granted, it probably went on to something else, but like I took a break from that and have been. So I would say just allowing yourself the space to be able to give yourself and your mind a break. So, what is the best advice you've ever received for handling change? Some advice that I've been receiving is great, especially because my life is about to change. I turn 18 soon. I graduate high school soon. So my life is definitely going to be changing very shortly. And an advice that I've gotten from a lot of people, but especially like just so many people that I've known and met, is that change is scary. And even though that it's scary, it can be a great thing. Like, I'm graduating high school, that's scary, and moving on to college, but that can be a crazy great thing. You can have so many experiences with that. And so I used to hate change, believe me, I did, and I've had a mind change on it. I've adapted my mind to kind of accept the scariness of changes, but I really used to hate it. And my dad likes to use the word adapting, that I have to adapt to my surroundings. I have to adapt to things around me. I have to adapt when things change. So that is one way that I use that. How do you stay true to yourself when it feels like it's pushing you in a different direction? That is really good, and honestly something that I'm struggling with right now. Like I said, I am about to graduate high school this spring / early beginning summer, and I'm stuck between 2 majors right now, and I honestly don't know which one I want to do because I love doing both. However, the college I'm at doesn't offer double majors, and I'm not going away to college, so that's a really tough situation. And I'm religious, so that is one reason why I believe that I can stay true to myself even though it's pushing me, is because I'm religious and I believe that whichever way I get pushed to is the right way and the right path for me. Next question, how do you set healthy boundaries with social media? So with Instagram and TikTok, I limit myself a lot of the times with how often I'm scrolling, how often I'm reading comments. Too much scrolling cannot be good for you, and I have a lot of other things to do, and I try to, when I limit myself on my social media, I also try to work on other things like making social media content. And if you're talking boundaries, especially when I'm posting, I filter out a lot of bad words or inappropriate things that should not be said on not only my channel but every channel, but I can only control mine. So I filter out some inappropriate things that should not be said and things that I don't stand for. So that's just kind of how I set my boundaries. And YouTube is another story because I'm watching YouTube a lot. I love watching all the creators and all the people on YouTube. So yeah. What's your approach to dealing with online negativity or haters? So my one TikTok has gotten a lot of views, and that TikTok was just meant to be following a trend, and it's still getting views to this day. As I'm filming and posting this, it still gets views and comments every second of the day, and that one was meant to follow a trend. It's just me posting about my electronics, and I also still get negative comments to that every second of the day. And how do I deal with it? I honestly don't care. I know that that's something that everybody says, but these people think they know me based off of a video of my electronics that I posted for 15 seconds or for 60 seconds. Just me explaining something about a word, iPad, and tablet, and it has triggered people in more ways than I could have ever thought it would have triggered people. So, if the negativity is towards me, it's a lot easier for me to ignore. If it's about other people, I don't tolerate it, especially if it's on my page and someone's hating about someone else on my page. It's not something that I'm okay with. So yeah, that's just kind of how I deal with them. I don't care. I truly don't. They don't know me based off of a 60-second, 15-second video, and now maybe a 15-minute video. You may know me more, but still, it's just a crazy, weird thing, especially being a teenager on the internet is crazy, and being on the internet in general is wild. How do you manage the pressures to be perfect online with the need to be authentic? Well, personally, I don't believe that online we need to be perfect. If someone shows you a perfect life online, it's what they've curated it to be. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has a perfect life. If people have shown you they're a perfect family or they're perfect people, that's not a thing. There's there's no, like, there can be a pressure to make your YouTube videos perfect the way you want it to be. That's different than showing how perfect your lives are, how perfect you are, because lives aren't curated to be like that. Being authentic is way more important to me than being perfect. Nobody is perfect. That's life. And I would rather be so much more authentic and open with you guys than being perfect with all of you. I am a little bit more of a perfectionist on my YouTube videos, but that's just because I want to pump out good content. But if you're talking in life and what people show, especially in vlogs and stuff, like family vloggers, especially what they show, nobody has a perfect life. They show you what they want to be shown, and that's how they have curated it for you, and that's what they want you to think. What does your self-care routine look like, and why is it important? I mean, obviously I think self-care is important because it's self-care. You care for yourself. What does it look like? Usually it's either me going for a bike ride or a drive, just to clear my head of things, especially when it's warm. Drives when it's cold, bike rides when it's warm, and even, because I don't want to bike in the cold, but I also drive when it's warm. You get what I mean? But I think that those give me such times to clear my head and just be with my own thoughts and feelings and emotions and all that. So I think that that is something very important to me, is just taking time to be with myself. And I think that that's something important for my self-care. Is a lot of the times when I'm driving alone, I'll listen to music and just be with my thoughts. So that is something that I do for self-care and what my routine looks like for that. How do you manage your time effectively, especially when juggling a busy schedule? I don't. I'm still working on that. Time management is a crazy hard thing for me. I'm really bad at like managing the right way, like managing how my schedule is, being done with what I need to be done with by this certain time. So like, for example, if I was doing some college work and I started at 7:00 p.m. and my schedule said I had to be done by 8, that would be very hard for me, and I could go overtime. So I'm still working on that, and honestly I think I will for a long time, so I don't really have an answer for that one. How do you stay focused on your long-term goals when life gets in the way? Honestly, when I think about what I want for my long-term goals, it's truly, I don't know. Does anybody really? When I think about that, I don't know. I don't know what my life has in store for me. But how do I stay focused on it? I stay focused on it by knowing what I want, by knowing the goals that I've set for myself and for my future, and for what I want for my future. Life gets busy, absolutely. Everybody's does. But by staying motivated by what my goals that are set in stone for my future is, by me setting them, I know what my future goals are, and I know what I want, and know what my end goal is, even when life gets in the way and things happen. What advice do you have for someone who's unsure about their future path? What advice do I have? Honestly, I can relate to that. What advice do I have is, that's okay. If you're unsure about what you want to do after you graduate high school or graduate college, that's okay. That's normal. My entire junior year didn't know what to do, what I wanted to do, and everybody kept asking me, and I truly, honestly said, I don't know. And now that I'm a senior and will be graduating high school later this year, I still am undecided what I want to do. I'm stuck in between two, and that's okay. That is normal. If you're unsure about what your future path holds, that's okay. That's a totally normal thing. And if you are unsure and don't know, that's also okay. You may not know. You may not know for a while, and that's normal too. So my advice is, it's okay. You don't have to know, and you don't have to feel pressured to know. You'll be ready when you're ready. I hope you guys enjoyed this girl talk / big sister advice episode. Let me know if you want a part 2. I can definitely do more. I love doing these and think that they are so much fun, and So yeah, let me know if you want a part 2. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time for my birthday vlog. Until then, bye guys.